Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the channel and a normal Doctor Who review.
We did it.
Wow, it's been a few weeks since we've been in this one, and I'm so glad we're reviewing a Christmas episode when it's 20 degrees outside.
I've sweated so much this week.
Yay! Oh God, it's disgusting. It was always going to happen. You just knew it would happen. Um, but anyway, if you're new to the channel and these videos, we've seen all these episodes before. We have seen them, but not in a long time. In most cases, and we're just reviewing them with the lens of hindsight and
Maturity.
in some cases, yeah, and what this episode, when did this come out? 2013, 2012. So 11 years old.
11 years. What the fuck?
So
How?
a lot of time has passed since this episode first came out. But yeah, we've re-reviewed almost up to the end of Matt Smith now. This is obviously series 7, episode 6. Approaching the end of Matt Smith. He's only got what, 8 episodes left after this one. Because we're about halfway through the normal episode of series 7, and we've got Day of the Doctor, and then
10, yeah.
There you go. So quite a few to come, but it's nearing the end.
We're getting there,
and we're almost there. This is the Snowmen, which again is very lovely to watch in the heat of summer.
I know. when it opened to those snowflakes, I was like, God, I wish that were me.
God, could you?
Oh, to be a snowflake.
Oh, to be an angry snowflake. Yeah.
Whoa.
But yes,
that's what they should be shouting as they fall down.
Yeah, God, could you imagine? God, terrible. Hey, you can't say that the snowflakes aren't represented in Doctor Who.
That's
Come
true.
On now. But yes, this episode features the 11th Doctor and Victorian Clara, I guess we'll call her. This is Jenna Coleman's second appearance in the show after she made she had a role in Asylum of the Daleks at the start of series 7. This also sees the reintroduction of the Paternoster gang with Jenny, Vastra, and Strax. Best boy Strax, who I'm sure we will talk about later.
Oh, I imagine so.
And they have to stop big bad businessman Richard E. Grant from doing a snow thing with the
E stands for evil.
Yeah, literally. Yeah, they have to just stop the snow, I guess, is the plot. But I mean, the Doctor's a little bit miffed still because Amy and Rory just died, and he's a bit sad.
Yeah, he's been on his own for a bit in a cloud.
Yeah, so he's trying not to get involved, but naturally, when a pretty lady comes calling, he's like, "Oh, actually, maybe pretty. I should." Much to sort of probably her regret in the end.
She doesn't regret anything now.
Oh no, I suppose. And in hindsight,
I mean, she was born to save the Doctor.
Yeah, in hindsight, it all makes sense now. It all makes sense. So that's another thing. But what did you think of this episode overall then?
I really enjoyed it. I thought it was good fun. As weird as it is to watch a Christmas special when it's this fucking hot outside, it was a good time. And yeah, I want to say something, but it's one of my positives, so I'm just going to save it. But yeah, I enjoyed it thoroughly. I feel like it didn't need to be an hour, I will say.
Yes. Yeah.
I think nearer the middle, I was like, okay, let's get to the good stuff. Show me the new TARDIS. And yeah, so I think unfortunately the idea that a Christmas special has to be an hour, probably because the BBC says so, maybe slightly hurt this one. But I think it does a good job of, I guess, reintroducing the idea of Clara, I guess, in a way, because there's going to be some people who watch this episode who didn't watch series 7 part 1, because obviously it's on Christmas Day. So it's cool, like they do a great balance of this is a new person, but then at the end you're like, oh, so he's met her before. Okay, so setting up that mystery, which is my favorite arc the show's ever done, is the Impossible Girl thing. So I think that's set up really nicely. And again, it's like bringing characters you might know back with the Paternoster gang, but if you don't know them, I think you get the gist pretty quickly of who they are. Especially because most people will be watching, oh, it's a Sontaran. I've heard of a Sontaran. So that's fun. And what a Sontaran he is. And yeah, so I like that. And then again, the Great Intelligence being brought back into it. It was,
Mhm.
I guess, at this point, one of the few, along with maybe the Zygons, I guess, one of the few major classic villains that hadn't been brought back. So I think that's cool. And again, it's someone doesn't have a lot of baggage because they were in 2 Patrick Troughton stories in the 60s. So you may not know them anyway. So it still works as like a brand new villain, if you will. And this is set before the Great Intelligence meets the Doctor again. So, you know, you don't have any baggage going on there, which is cool. But yeah, I had a good time with it. I don't think I enjoyed it as much as I thought I would, but I still had a really, really good time with it. I feel like 2012 Liam probably enjoyed it a bit more than 2023 Liam does, but I still, you know, it's probably in my top half in terms of like ranking Christmas specials if I had to.
Yeah, I think that's fair. It is an enjoyable episode, and I think I do agree that it's probably a bit too long. I don't think it's hurt by its time in the same that Deep Breath probably gets hurt by its time.
No, I agree. That's 75
but
minutes.
That one, Deep Breath, was too long. So, you know, even
Deep Breath is half an hour too long.
Yeah, it's too much there. But I think this one, a Christmas special, you expect it to be an hour, which is fine. But it's what you do with that extended sort of 15 minutes, I guess, that counts the most. And probably not much is done in this one. But either way, we first of all have to talk about the positives. We do 3 positives and 3 negatives. And I believe it's your turn to go first this week.
Oh, is it? Well,
I think so. Well, you can go first, I think. I might be wrong.
Okay.
It's been a while.
You're probably going to be surprised at this one. But my first positive
Ian McKellen.
I mean, he is good, to be fair. But yeah, it's Clara Osborne Oswald.
Wow!
Jenna Coleman. You're going to be stunned by this revelation.
God!
I don't think I've mentioned it, but I quite like Clara. All iterations of her. She is my favorite companion, so I'm very happy to be in this era at last. I've been waiting 3 long years. We're finally here. So yeah, this iteration of Clara is really cool. I know a lot of people are like, oh, I wish this was the one that had stuck around, and I do get it because watching this, I'm like, she's so cool. But also the people that only think that just because we have her only for 1 episode, probably because they just go on to say, oh, they overused her, as Doctor Who fans often do. If they're in 1 episode, they're underused. If they're in more than 1 episode, they're overused. So Doctor Who fans being Doctor Who fans, who knows? But I like modern day Clara as well. So that's really cool. And again, like setting up the Impossible Girl arc with her, you know, some subtle connections to Osborne throughout the episodes that don't mean much to you if you haven't seen a Sound of the Daleks. But it's not like, that's a bit weird, what's going on there? And then obviously they explain it at the end, but there's a link. And how that whole kind of thing just ties up into like 50th anniversary coming up and everything, you know. I like all that kind of setup with her, but her chemistry, I think, with Matt Smith right from the off is great. Really threw me off, actually. I forgot she was Jenna Louise Coleman in the credits for like these first bunch of episodes. I completely forget that she used to be Jenna Louise. So that threw me off. But yeah, I really enjoyed that instant chemistry she kind of has with the 11th Doctor. And you know, I also would give up a period of isolation to spend more time with her. So, you know, absolute mood. So I do like that kind of instant connection with them. Well, I think when I first watched it, I was like, wow, he really changed his mind quick. But I actually kind of really dug it and felt it in this one. I was like, oh, I can see why.
Yeah, I think it makes
it's
sense.
Kind of like, you know, Rose in 1 episode kind of reinvigorates 9. And I think it is a very, I mean, Moffat says he kind of channels the 9th Doctor's isolation at the start of Rose to Matt Smith in this one. So I can see where they're going from with that. So I like that whole kind of arc and that she kind of saves him, if you will, as is her whole deal. Just, you know, not in the kind of the literal sense because she falls to her doom. But yeah, she saves him a different way. So I think that was really cool. And, you know, her living like this double life, like part-time barmaid, but she's also a nanny and all of that crazy stuff. They do a great job, I think, of making you really grow attached to this Clara. And the fact that we do, I guess, is testament to why we would think 11 would believably get attached to her as well. Which makes it so sad, but also bittersweet because I still like the Claras we do get. And I like the whole mystery. I wouldn't want to get rid of that, that she dies. And I actually got really sad in those scenes. And I was like, I know we still have another 2 years of her. And I'm like, oh. Yep. I was surprisingly moved by those sequences when she was like dying, just lying there. Those fucking kids crying. So yeah, I really enjoyed her character in this one. Obviously, a full introduction for Clara's theme as well, which is one of my favorite pieces of music in the show. And yeah, there's just some kind of magic to her, I think, in this one, which I guess is because it's a Christmas special more so than anything else. But I really liked seeing her Thor, Eleven's cold heart, if you will. And that whole kind of arc with those two is great. And then even beyond that, it sets up the Impossible Girl story that kind of carries us through 2013.
I think that's fair. She's not one of my main positives, but I do agree that she is, to introduce a new companion sort of, and have it work in this one, and not have to worry about we need to get all of this done in this one episode. We don't have to worry about she needs to continue on, so we need to leave something to do over
and
to stretch out.
It is refreshing to have the companion really be in the Christmas special.
Yes,
Amy Rory, we had like 2 minutes of them in the last one. Christmas Carol, they kind of in it quite a bit, but it's still not the focus. So that was nice as well.
Yeah, no, I mean, yeah, they're not. I wouldn't say they're in A Christmas Carol. They're just, to be fair, I thought that's one when you're talking about. I completely forgot about the Doctor, the Widow, and the Wardrobe. So
how could you forget about that?
How could I forget about that? But never mind. But yeah, I think she is great in this. I like this version of Clara. I'm similar to you. I don't mind any of the versions of Clara that we get. Probably not on the bandwagon as you are, but
No, I think that's probably valid and fair. But yeah, I think it probably would have been just a bit harsh to expect Jenna Coleman to do that voice for the whole time. I think that would have been very grating. As cool as it would be to have like a Victorian companion, they would surely contract a disease and die instantly anyway. So yeah, it is what it is.
Yeah, and I mean, the accent is very Oliver Twist.
Yes,
that kind of thing.
She's putting on the part for the kids, and
it's not it's not necessarily the best either accent, really, to be fair, the posh one or the Cockney one, but
yeah,
it's fine for the one episode. And she also has the chemistry with the rest of the group as well. She's not phased with anything when she has the sort of interview with Bashra. I think that works quite nicely. And it sets up sort of their relationship that they're going to have with the future Clara as well when they eventually meet in what 3 episodes time. Crimson Horror, I think, is when they first meet present Clara. It is, isn't it? Because they have the whole thing about how can it be that or that Clara.
Yeah, that's ages away.
Yeah, that's a few episodes away, but anyway, they still have that sort of immediate chemistry, which I think Clara has with most people in the show. Unlike
she's great with
chemistry. Unlike Rose, who just hates everyone that turns up. Oh god. My first positive probably won't surprise anyone either, but it's Strax. It's Best Boy Strax.
Did I put him in my?
You better put him in your positives, because he's.
Yeah, well, I've put Patton off the gag as my third.
Okay, all right. Well,
but Strax. If I had to rank all 3 of them, I would put Strax. Just because it's such a big surprise. So I remember. 2012 Liam, 2013 Liam. I was like, I like Strax. I didn't find him as funny as a lot of people seem to. He had me cackling when I watched it today. His whole scene with the memory worm and the cab and everything.
Yeah,
I'd forgotten like so much of that.
It's where he just walks off screen and then he comes back and stands there.
He's so dumb.
What do you want?
He has so many great one-liners for the whole thing.
Yeah, it's look. It's been snowing. I was like.
The way he delivers that line is good. It's so good.
Oh, that one.
And all that makeup as well. And he's just so expressive.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, help. I think I've been run over by a cab. And it's just, it's excellent. Even,
Sherlock Holmes.
Yeah.
He's so pleased with himself.
When he's so like, I really want more of him. And maybe it's the same thing of if we had more of him, it wouldn't work as well. I don't know. But I know that basically every scene he steals in this one, and he has that still since he shows also why he's there with the group for his medical knowledge. On the table, and even like his military tactics as well. When they come into that room and he's like, Strax, tell me what's going on. He's like, wow, look, they've done this and this, so they're planning this. I think that's he's not just there for the comedic relief. He can show that he's there.
Yeah, he's still some Tara in her heart.
yeah, and it works really well. He has that excellent balance, but I just think that the comedy in this from him is excellent throughout. And it's just when he threatens violence for everything, so we should blow them to smithereens. They're already smithereens. It's like, oh, okay.
It's like we should like melt them with acid and then like interrogate them other way around.
Yeah, it's excellent. It's throughout all of it. He's great. And I think he's just the standout for the episode. I think he provides so much of the humor in this one that without that, I think would be quite a dark and dingy episode.
Yeah, particularly the first half before 11 kind of has that switch.
Yeah, well, I mean,
has those nice moments once he's Sherlock Holmes and stuff. What was the line he said that really got me? He's like, "Oh, do you have a goldfish called Colin?" He's like, "No." I thought so. For some reason, that really got me.
I like the takes one to snow one. Where that's excellent.
Yeah, but obviously Strax does carry the comedy.
Yeah, because even so, those are probably the only bits of levity without Strax there. The rest is kind of like depression and then death, and it's like, oh, great. So it carries it a lot, and I think he's just a standout, and I'm already excited for when we see him in Crimson Horror the next time, and when he turns up in, is it Name of the Doctor, when he is like fighting the Scottish guy and he's like, I need you to knock me out, and he's just again, he's not in that episode much, but still when he is, I think he's great. And in this one, I just want more of him. I think he's the standout for this one, and again, as you said, under all that makeup as well, to still have that performance come out is a real testament. And even to Vasher as well, under that makeup, it still has the performance that is great. But yeah, Strax is by far for me the standout.
And they shot this episode during the summer, like they've been sweating.
Yeah. Every time you didn't have to, especially because he's not only in his like thing, but he's also in that big suit, like an actual suit as well.
Yeah, he has to have a padded suit to get the shape right, and then a suit on top.
I couldn't do it. So what's your next positive then, or do you want to talk about the Paternoster gang if that's your third?
Yeah, I'll talk about them, why not? But yeah, I can see, they were quite popular when A Good Man Goes to War aired, obviously. That's kind of why they're here. We may have some fun facts about that. And yeah, there's just something that just works about the three of them together. But Strax is definitely the highlight in this one. He was really surprised me with how much I found him funny. And he definitely kind of brings the levity that you need. Even more so when it's a Christmas special, I think you kind of need to be light-hearted at moments, for sure. I mean, he certainly provides that. But I do like that, Vastra and Jenny get, I guess, some of the more emotional weight they have to deal with in regards to bringing the Doctor and Clara together. I don't think Jenny gets that much to do in this, but she's kind of she's the star of the three in the Crimson Horror, really. She's kind of the one who goes on the main investigation, so I guess they kind of bounce out with that. But they still have a few good moments. I like their confrontation with Dr. Simeon, Vastra and Jenny quite early on. Just kind of setting up that relationship between the two of them, and the whole one-word scene. I do enjoy them kind of testing Clara in that way. And the whole veil thing. I still haven't seen when she takes that bloody veil off. I still haven't noticed. I need to just go frame by frame and remember when she takes it off. So that scene clearly works for me anyway. So yeah, it's fun to see them again, particularly when they're characters that are like, oh, we're seeing like a recurring Sontaran character, or a recurring Silurian character. And in a Victorian setting, it's just so bizarre. Like a Sontaran butler for a Silurian and her wife.
And the only person that has a normal reaction to it is the maid.
In
that house. Everybody else accepts it except for her.
Has like, an evening that will change her forever. And God knows what happens to her. She probably becomes a serial killer.
It's at least been a Target novel or Big Finish. It's coming soon. One of them.
We'll find out because she's a villain in the 60th anniversary specials.
Of course.
She was beat up the meep all along.
Could you imagine? What a twist.
I know. But yeah, it was great to kind of, have a familiar group of characters who were already, a cool part of their original appearance back in this one. I think Doctor Who does do that a lot when there's like a transitional period, like when we get a new Doctor or a new companion. There's normally some characters there from the previous era to kind of still hold over and help with that crossover. So that's very much the case here. And obviously there again when we get a new Doctor. So I like their kind of placement with that. as like the Doctor turning to them when he needs to just kind of get away from it, and they support him but don't approve of it, like Vastra says. So they all get some decent moments to shine, and obviously they get even more because we see them again another 3 times, I think. So yeah, they're great kind of little side characters. I can see why they're fan favorites, and you know why everyone wanted the spin-off back in the day. And Big Finish gave them one.
I still want the spin-off. So
still want the spin-off. You never know. Disney make it happen.
That's true.
But yeah, it was great to see them. I think they all have some really cool moments to shine, and yeah, they're a real, I don't know, a stamp of the era, I guess, if you will. So it's kind of some comfort to see them. Like, oh god, back in the day, I remember those days. What a time to be alive, building up to the 50th anniversary and everything. So yeah, I very much enjoy seeing them. They all have some cool moments, but Strax is by far kind of the highlight of the 3 in this one. He's really surprisingly funny.
Yeah, I think it's especially sort of unique because they literally just appear in A Good Man Goes to War, and there's like no context to them whatsoever, and there's still no real context into how they actually just sort of came about. They just sort of did, and I think that it works for some strange reason. You know, I don't think I'm clamoring for, oh yeah, I need to find out more about how this all happened, but
yeah, if you really want to know, there is a prequel episode. Well, there's 4, as it turns out.
But
down.
Still, you don't need budget. This, I don't think.
No, you don't.
It's just delete scenes. That's all it is. That's what they are.
Well, one of them is.
Oh well.
Hard to delete it when it's a book, but.
Oh well. You can try.
You can try.
So my second positive, I think, is Richard E. Grant.
Okay.
Richard E. Grant. I just think he's surprisingly villainous in this one. He just plays villain. Yeah, really. He plays villain really well. And he's almost the perfect choice for scary Victorian man.
He does look like he should be in Victorian times, doesn't he?
And I think it especially works when he comes back in the future.
Yes, I would agree with that.
And I think without this one, that one probably doesn't work as well. But I think he's great. The only issue I have is kind of, and we'll come on to it, but when he gets turned into an ice zombie. I think that's the only real
Spoiler
issue.
alert, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, right.
It's so stupid. You can tell in his eyes, you can see like, I hate that I'm doing this.
Yeah.
I am an actor.
Well,
I am a surgeon.
They had this like really good moment where like the Doctor sort of revealed that it was his own thoughts, and you kind of see the character just sort of break and sort of regress.
He's so good at doing that.
And I thought that was excellent. And then they kind of just.
And it's nice rewatching that, knowing he does exactly that to that woman in Bells of St. John as well.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. And I think it's great that that's there. And I think I couldn't picture another one. I kind of, we'll come on to that one as well. I kind of wish it was just his voice, but distorted in the Globe rather than having Ian McKellen do it. Because I feel it kind of, it's more subtle when, it's a similar thing to like, Michael Sheen in House, where you don't know it's them. If he could do like a different voice there, that's a better way of saying, oh, it's him all along, because you can kind of, if you can figure it out and you know it, you can go, yeah. But
that would be cool, yeah.
But they went the other way with it. But I think, he's a great villain. I think just from the start, I was like, I promised I'd feed you. I didn't say who to. It's very like, it's very John Lumick of him to be like, oh ha ha. But it's so camp, but it's also like so villainous, and he plays it off so well that it's not like somebody else could have played that, and it could have been John Lumick-esque, where it's just so over the top and
I think
unnecessary.
Simeon could have been a really boring, dull villain, and some people may argue that he is until he comes back. And I think that would kind of be fair, but having Richard E. Grant do it, I think elevates it.
It adds the gravitas to it that it needed. Even when he shows up at the house and he's like, look, you've got 5 minutes, lad, or we're coming in, and then that's it, and he just shuts the door.
He's got an army of snowmen, for God's sake. Snowmen. He's there with a serious face, like taking it all in his stride, and you just believe it. You're like, okay.
You're like, okay, this man's a real threat. I'll okay. But I think he's great. I think he does a really good performance. And again, for a guest character, a guest actor, a fairly big actor, it could be fairly easy for him to come in and phone it in. but this along with this and Michael Gambon, I think the Christmas specials 2 out of 3 have done really well with their guest casting.
Yeah.
For Matt Smith's run at least.
And he's a huge Doctor Who fan as well, which I think definitely helps.
Yeah, well, I mean, he's obviously had experience with the show before, hasn't he? He is an
maybe we'll have some
Doctor.
fun facts about it.
So it works. He's got the sort of the reputation and the know-how to sort of do this serious role in this slightly weird scenario. And I think he does it very well, and I'm very excited to see him come back. Not in the next episode because he's in it for like 2 seconds.
Yes, his face.
But yeah, definitely at the end of the series.
Name the Doctor, yeah.
Yeah, when he makes his triumphant return with the horrible Whispermen. I'm not looking forward to them, but I am looking forward to it. But yes, that's my second one. What's your second/third?
Yes, my second/third is I've just gone for vibes. The vibes and aesthetic of it all.
Yep. Fair enough.
Which is kind of what I was alluding to at the start, and I just want to talk about the episode in general. It's just something about it. I don't know. It's one of those weird things, hard to explain. But I just like the whole vibe it gives off. Because there is like the Christmassy elements to it. There are some kind of campier elements to it, I guess. I would say Strax is probably quite camp in his delivery and stuff. But it works. But there's a lot of heart to it as well with the Doctor and Clara's relationship, and obviously him still grieving the Ponds. The fact that he still wears her reading glasses just makes me sad. All of that, and the stakes with setting up the future with Clara and everything. It's all good, and like aesthetically, I do like the Victorian Christmas setting. They used it in the next Doctor because it just works. I think Victorian streets covered in snow and stuff. It just works.
Wow, it's Unquite Dead as well, isn't it? That's the same.
Unquite Dead.
That's exactly the same vibe.
All over the shop. And 2 out of 3 of those episodes I really love.
Yeah, nobody likes the next Doctor. Don't be silly.
Yeah, no one. Certainly not half the people on this call. It's fine. I don't say that lightly about a Slideman story, believe me. But yeah, I just like that. And the image of the staircase in the snow and the TARDIS in the clouds, I think is so cool. The new TARDIS interior is my favorite interior we've got, and it's amazing. And yeah, I just love the vibes. It's hard to explain. Maybe it's because I just love Christmas a lot. So they're going to have a slight advantage in terms of vibes right from the off, I guess, if they lean into that a bit. But yeah, it's just, I think it just comes from an era of Doctor Who that I remember really, really liking at the time. I remember going into school when 7B was airing. I sat next to this guy. Shout out to Dan Allen. How you doing, man? Sat next to him in English, and it was probably like nearer the. I think the name of the Doctor was like the next one that was going to air. He's like, "Oh, you still watching Doctor Who? You enjoying it?" I was like, "Oh yeah, I'm loving it. What about you?" He's like, "Yeah, not for me." Okay. And I was like the only one in Dorking back in the day who's actually enjoying it. How do you feel now? I hope they're all having terrible lives. I don't really. A lot of them are quite nice. So yeah, it just reminds me of that time as well, I guess. Which does help.
Yeah, I think that's fair. My final positive, and you've touched on it as sort of in yours, is the TARDIS reveal. I just think that the way it's teased at the start, when she doesn't commit to going into the TARDIS when she first climbs the stairs. And a side note, I would not be able to climb those stairs. I would be knackered halfway through. I was like, how is she still going? I'd have been dead.
Stairs should not have gaps in like that. It's just dangerous.
No. And also, yeah,
someone would fall to their death.
Oh yeah. Oh. But yeah, the TARDIS reveal itself, the music, the look, the sort of smug look on Matt Smith's face, I think it's all great, and it all really comes together. Coupled with it's smaller on the outside. It's like, oh yeah, I guess you're not wrong. I think it all works really well, and to reveal that in a Christmas special as well is some bold moves, because that's very much a thing where he could have just left it as the old one while he wallowed and then gone, right, I need a redecoration, and done it for the next one. But I think it's great. The TARDIS design is great, and obviously they keep it for the next 4 years.
I think
Capaldi's design.
All they do with Capaldi is put the chalkboard in and then make the lights orange. I think that's all they changed, but mainly it's the same.
Yeah, and I mean, there's probably other reasons why they keep it the same, but it's
they
still
don't want to instantly change it after like 8
exactly.
episodes.
Yeah, but it's still great. I still really like it. I think the reveal's great, the music's great. It's all done really well, and I think it's that point in the episode where you're like, yes, is what you're doing.
Yes, it's so beautiful.
Finally, yeah. And yeah, I think it is great. And it's probably a moment that doesn't get talked about too much when people think of this episode, and probably because I don't think this episode gets necessarily talked about enough. That I think this scene just sort of slips by people. But it's excellent.
I guess because he gets like his proper new outfit in the next one. I feel like people may think the TARDIS happens at the same point then, because they normally do it all in one. But alas, you're wrong. Fake fans.
Wrong. Have you got any other additional positives you want to touch on?
I think I do somewhere. I've talked about the music. I think the design of the snowmen is quite cool. I think they look quite interesting. I like the Great Intelligence coming back. I think that's a nice kind of classic villain to bring back into it. Classic villain. I think I did just think of another one while you were talking, and now I've forgotten it. So if it comes back, I remember. 11's outfit in this one. I think it's cool. Matt Smith just suits a top hat. They should have just kept it full time. I mean, he's clearly a hat person with the fez and everything. So I like that kind of how they've leaned into like the Scrooge aesthetic with him in this one, because he's all Scroogey and isolated. So that's fun. And the fact that 2 years on from when he was trying to unscrew someone, he's become the Scrooge. I just think that's fun.
I just think it's neat.
A lot of like one-off outfits for 11 that just really work, and I wish we'd see more of, like the Town Called Mercy jacket. God, we hardly knew you. But this one, it worked well for the vibe of him being a grumpy old man. So it makes sense that he'd kind of discard it after this one.
Yeah, that's fair. I think my sort of only additional positive that we're not spoken about is just the music overall. Which we've touched on with Clara's theme, with the TARDIS reveal music. I think it's all excellent throughout, and also a shout out to the title sequence, which I quite like.
Yes, I love it. So good.
It is excellent. However, as with every episode, we must now. My pen's
drop something on the floor.
We must now talk about the negatives. What's your first negative?
The solution.
Yeah.
A bit underwhelming. Now, I'm in two minds about it.
But they're sad.
Because it makes sense.
Yeah.
And I think it's because like there's a critical mass of snow at the house or whatever. Something's changed. It makes sense because it's mirroring a thing, shoot yourself in the foot. Fair enough. It makes sense. I think if it was like in a book, they could really make that ending more impactful than like really describe it and be powerful and stuff. I think in this setting, how quickly it happens, even though it makes sense that it happens quickly.
Yeah.
And just the actual kind of all that build up, and then it goes. It's not. It's just. It's impossible for it not to be a bit underwhelming. I think when you're watching a TV show where that happens, I guess is the thing. So I get you want a nice Christmas message. And like, you shouldn't cry on Christmas, be happy at Christmas, or or bad, or snowmen will eat your family. But yeah, it's just, I feel like they're really like, oh my god, what's gonna happen? And then they didn't even need to turn up. They didn't even do anything. As soon as Clara dies, like as soon as she fell out, like, oh, the problem's solved because those kids are gonna cry. So it just feels a bit like, oh, okay, not quite Power of 3 levels of, oh well, that's an underwhelming way of fixing all the problems. But it's still like I wish there was a punch, and you do get that with like the Clara reveal and everything, but outside of that, it's like I think it is helped by the fact that the Great Intelligence comes back in the next episode and then in the finale, so we know it's like not a one and done thing. But
they even say at the end, isn't it? They say, "Oh, he's still out there.
He'll be back. Great Intelligence, that rings a bell."
Yeah,
could it be?
It's been 48 years since I've heard that name.
48. Oh man, I was so short when I last heard that name. But yes, it is what it is, and I do think it makes sense. So I guess that's better than it just being bizarre and underwhelming. But you can't avoid the fact that it's like,
Yeah, I think my first negative ties into that. So mine's the Ice Zombie Simeon.
That's my third one.
Yeah, because I think you can just end it with him stopping him there and go, "We've done it," and then just Just go. Just don't. You don't need him to be reincarnated as a White Walker. Literally yelling "Winter is coming." So you know. You don't.
Most people weren't even watching Game of Thrones at the time.
No, exactly. You don't need that. You could just say, "Oh, he's been defeated," or you know, we've stopped him mirroring this one, but he might come back again. You know, something like that. But maybe they just decided, yeah, but it was mirroring the little girl's thoughts, so maybe we should do something about that. So maybe there's an element there, but I think you can just be like, "Now we've stopped it, and then leave it."
I think like the makeup job on him is really good.
Yes.
But it's just like, oh god, like the best actor on earth could not make that not be shit.
No, it's not great. It's not great. And it's especially because it's so unnecessary. You think it's done. It's like, oh no, we've got 10 more minutes to fill. Oh no, what are we gonna do? And then that's where it comes in with its length. But yeah, I just don't think it's iZombie Simeon is poor, and the resolution's fine. I get it, but I think it would have made more sense if maybe it was Simeon that was the one that was crying rather than anything else. But you know, maybe they could have added a personal element, whereas the governess with his wife, and he was actually trying to bring her back, thinking that she
they should have Mr. Freeze
whatever. And then, well, yeah, exactly. It should have been a Mr. Freeze situation.
It's the perfect time to do it.
Literally. But yeah, I mean, because then he's more of a relatable villain. He's, you know, it makes sense why it's connected to him and why he's working with them rather than just being, I'm bad guy. You know, but hey, maybe that's too complicated for Christmas Day. Maybe they just need
to have him be a lonely little boy for the snowman to pick on, I guess.
Yeah, literally. But anyway, you know, that's fine. So what's your second negative?
My second one is Captain Latimer and his boring children.
I've got the children there, so
you just don't really need them. His arc of like, oh, I'm a bad father, and at the end he's still a bad father, really. But
he had a secret crush on Clara, I assume.
It's not a secret. He made it very clear it wasn't secret. So yeah, he's got inappropriate feelings for the nanny. Scandal waiting to happen. And yeah, you just don't need him. There's nothing to him. It's a shame because that actor's so good. If you haven't seen Silent Witness, he's amazing in that. He was my favorite character by far in that show for like 10 years. And yeah, he'd only just left it when he did this. So obviously he's kind of, I guess, off the back of that. But yeah, it's a shame that his character's so dull and does nothing. And they try to give him an arc with Carl's like, help them. Yeah. Just hug your children. It's not difficult.
Just be really my area.
Like, at least like mention like maybe what happened to their mother. Give him some kind of like reason why he's, you know, oh, you're just telling he's a shit dad. Like he doesn't want to do it. And I just don't feel like there's a decent resolution to that in the slightest. Like have like a snowman break in and he saves his kid from one or something. You know, just something. But they just refuse to give him anything, which is a shame. So he's kind of just a nothing sort of character. And, you know, his kids, they're fine. I guess they're a means to an end because you need, like, the governess and all of that jazz. And I suppose you didn't even need it to have those bad dreams because you've got Simeon and all that. But, yeah, they're just sort of there. Like, I'm glad they kind of try and let, depending on Christmas specials around families go and, like, children go after 2 in a row now. Where only Lily is the one who's come out the best from the last one. So yeah, they're just, that family's there, and it's a pointless subplot that I don't care about. Everything else going on is a lot more interesting, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think that's fair. My second negative is the children. I was enjoying the episode. They went, oh god, we've got. I was like, oh, as soon as they went to the children, I was like, oh no, not children again. It's just so they're so unnecessary.
It's very nice that they're real life brother and sister, but
I don't care. No,
I don't care.
Digby's just a little psychopath who's like, yeah, she died. I'm like, oh, all right, Digby, calm down. My sister's scared of.
Do you want to see where she died? This is where I drowned her.
Like, sure, I mean, you know, you can have the kids maybe be there, fine. I don't know if you need both of them there. You could just have the one.
Yeah,
you don't need Captain Latimer there. you could just have it be that, the whole point of there being a nanny is that there's no parents around, but there's a maid and the dad there. So why do you need the third person? But maybe that's just what Victorian
he's
England
home
was
for
like with
Christmas
that many people.
because he's a captain.
Yeah,
I don't know.
yeah.
No,
But you don't need him
his
there.
kids, but just
Yeah.
maybe explain that.
Either say that or don't have him there. Yeah. But yeah,
Kid him.
the children aren't necessary. They're there to be more again like, oh wow, oh look what's going on, and to have the ice lady stuff. But again, if you just change the backstory for Simeon to it being his dead wife, then that again makes a bit more sense. Also makes sense why they know who Simeon is as well at the house, and they're like, oh yeah, it's him or whatever, and why he was there like visiting before. You could maybe say that that was his wife and he was there, he comes around every now and then, or something like that, to just sort of explain the relationship there. And again, if we do get the target organization, maybe that's the way they'll go, is they'll put more of a connection with Simeon and that sort of family, rather than it just being a generic
I wouldn't be surprised
coincidence. Because I imagine a lot of people fall in rivers, lakes, ponds and drown, but why particularly that one? Other than for Clara to get the doctor's attention with Pond.
Yes.
Which very coincidental, but it's fine. But yeah, I think
across his timeline, isn't it? She's
yeah, it's true. It does make sense. Once you've seen the whole series, it makes sense why it's all a coincidence, because it's not a coincidence.
Mysteries.
Anyway, the children, you don't need them.
The child.
You don't need them. You don't need them. You don't need them in Doctor Who. Just get them. I get, I think there's
already too many humans on Earth. You don't need the children.
Yeah, literally. I think there's an element of just kids. Maybe it's just kids need to see other kids in shows to feel connected to it.
I think that probably it's the family show element, isn't it? Really? Yeah.
Yeah, and fine, I get that, but make them interesting at least.
Give them good episodes, like.
Yeah, but
don't use them like Fear Her did.
No,
Doctor Who and Wardrobe did.
Oh God. So what's your final negative? I think we've already spoken a little bit about it.
We did always. It was the Simeon puppet thing.
Zombie Simeon.
Zombie Simeon, just goofy and a bit shit.
Yeah.
I get. Does it kind of time snacks like ice zombies? I don't know if I like the ice governess or not. I feel like it is low key a bit shit.
The CGI is not the greatest either.
No, I think that's probably more so. Yeah, because there's a chance for that to look really horrifying. And I know the BBC just wouldn't allow it, but I just wish it was like a corpse of a woman. Like unquite
an actual ice person,
like an actual, like they just never found.
Like what Simeon is at the end.
Yeah, like she went missing, and then they never found. They don't know what happened to her, and then that lake melts, and like she was killed by the little boy.
Yeah.
But yeah, it is what it is, and I don't necessarily mind it. And it's not like she doesn't have an impact, because she literally kills Clara. So I'm glad that it did something worth note. It's not like a stab or anything from Smith and Jones.
Although I don't know why it's chasing. Why is it chasing Clara in the end? Is it just
she's a bitch?
Is it just coincidence?
She's the new governess. She mocked her.
Oh yeah, I guess maybe there's that.
You little.
Sure. You took my job. You were dead. You died.
You died. It's a pretty good reason for the vacancy.
Oh God, I can imagine.
But yeah, it's fine. I guess when you've got the Snowmen, which I think are a bit more visually interesting to look at anyway, and I think look better in general. I kind of wish.
A lot of them are more practical as well, aren't they?
Yeah, I wish they'd kind of given them that kind of stuff to do, I guess.
Yeah.
But I suppose a walking snowman might have looked a bit goofy as well, but maybe not as goofy as this ice
one. They manage it in Frozen, so
true. But everything
that only came out
is CG
3 years after this. No, when did Frozen come out? Was it 2014? I think it was. It was only 2 years after this.
So. I didn't really like Frozen, so I don't know.
Oh, unacceptable. That's fair enough, though.
I'm sorry.
How dare you not like upcoming Doctor Who actors Jonathan Groff's big role? God.
Oh dear.
My final negative. We've spoken about it a little before, although it's slightly different than what I thought it would be. It's still Ian McKellen associated, but not his performance and sort of what he gives the show. Because I think he gives a really good performance. I think his voice in it is great. And just to do what he does with a voice role is excellent, and it works really well. and he is a great actor. I just think the character that he plays is a bit pointless, especially when it's supposed to be reflecting Richard E. Grant. I'm like, just have, as you just mentioned, just have his voice be the voice of the snow.
I feel like if it wasn't a classic villain reappearing, they would have just done the Richard E. Grant like distort his voice thing. But I feel like they felt like it needed more gravitas than it actually did. So
I mean, and yeah, maybe, but then at the same time, they don't bring it back again.
No.
So why not just keep it as Richard E. Grant throughout? Because I think you could do like I've no problem with a big actor doing a voice role. You know, Michael Sheen again was great in The Doctor's Wife with his role. It's just I don't think this one's a good enough character or a good enough role for Ian McKellen to have. So I think if
you can clearly tell this was in the middle of him filming all the Hobbits, because like you have 5 minutes on set. Here's a microphone. Quick.
It's
only
got time
like
to do
5
lines, please.
Yeah,
it's not much. Most of them are being repeated anyway. You can just but you know, and if they were going to have it just be a separate entity, I think it would have been a bit better. But because it's a reflection, it's supposed to be like Richard E. Grant's inner thoughts. It would have been better to be a distorted.
This is what he wishes he sounded like.
Well, yeah, there's that element of it, and maybe that's the case. But
he sounds too cool for it. Is the problem?
Yeah,
his voice is too good.
Yeah, it's too good of a voice for that role. I think is the main problem.
It's a recognizable voice, which is, I guess, the problem really.
Yeah, but even then, I can't remember it being marketed as Ian McKellen's in this episode, because and I think maybe people will listen and go, oh, Ian McKellen, and then be like, okay. But I think if he's in it, it's a bit harder hitting, I think, than just it being voice. But what can you do?
Yeah, it's logically the only way they'd ever get him in Doctor Who. So.
Yeah. So it's
just a shame
fine.
It wasn't something better.
It's just forgettable, I think, is the problem. Especially when it's just a ball of snow as well. It's not even
that's another thing that's always like, put a bit more snow in that globe. I feel like it would look better with a bit more snow. Like it's barely anything in it. Like, did you run out? Like just I don't know.
Maybe
CGI some snow in there, maybe.
Couldn't afford all the beans from Hobbycraft to put inside.
All those polystyrene things. They're just like, if that breaks, I don't want to clean it up. So just put like 5 in there. I'm not cleaning it up.
Yeah, terrible. Have you got any other negative points then? Any additional ones?
Do I? I don't know if I do. Oh yes, I do. Just the one. I do think the Doctor Who joke is overused in this.
What?
Yeah. As an avid defender of it, normally, I do think in this particular episode, it goes beyond a running joke. This feels like
the first time when it's used in like the carriage before pre-title.
I get like this is like the arc for the end of 11. I get it. You want to reinforce that, but my God, man, we get it. So yeah, it felt like they wrote a few scenes, they put the joke in there, they took a 5-hour break, came back to it, wrote a bit more, didn't reread the stuff that came before. Like, oh, I should put a Doctor Who joke in here. It feels like it was that kind of deal. And it got a bit much, I must say. As someone who has a lot of time for it, my patience was tested with this particular one. Again, if it was not an hour, there wouldn't have been the time to fit those extra couple in. But it is what it is.
At least they didn't. Oh, you're the Doctor. At least they didn't do that one.
Yeah,
you know?
And I really liked how they used it with Jenny when she said it, because it's like, yes, I know who you're talking about. Like that was a really clever use of it. But then they just kept doing it.
Yeah. Yes, it's fair enough. My additional one, which I think we sort of spoke about, it's probably just a bit too long. You can probably cut it down a little bit. And maybe another additional one is you could probably maybe just take out Clara being a barmaid and just have her be a governess.
Because like the governess side of it is what they lean into anyway, not the barmaid side. You don't need
there's no need to have the barmaid stuff. They just wanted her in that dress, and they went, "Yep, we're doing this one." And then they were like, "Okay." But
I think I guess they wanted to get the impression like she doesn't settle down in any.
She's a normal
way, shape,
person.
Form. She's like she's just bouncing between everything. So like, she'd be the perfect companion because she wants to get away. She can't commit to anything. But I don't think they lean into it kind of hard enough, I guess.
Yeah, it's only there so that it's kind of there at the start. She's like, "Oh my God, what's this?" And then that's it. But you can have her just walking home from the governess job, and then have exactly the same scenario happen. But
I struggled to be mad. Costume department nailing it, but
no,
probably
I
unnecessary.
don't. I think if you want to cut down some time, you can get rid of that. I think.
That whole scene where there's the guy like begging her to stay, and like, we just don't need this.
Yeah, you can get rid of that, and you can probably get rid of this. As much as it is good, you can probably get rid of the scene where Vastra and Jenny speak to Simeon in the alleyway. I don't think that really does much. They're sort of there. They never. I don't even think they have another conversation. Well, Vastra's there again, isn't she? At the end, in the globe, but she doesn't do it. She just stands there and watches the Doctor get got by him.
Yeah, she's like,
oh, whoopsie. Guess I can't do anything. Oh, whoops.
Oh dear.
But yeah, I think you could. But if we're cutting down, but it's fine. I just don't think they're necessary. Excellent. Well, before we rate the episode, I hope you have some fun facts.
Your hopes are not unfounded. I do have some fun facts. God, this is a long paragraph. Where did I write this? Well, buckle in, folks. Anyway, fun facts. This episode had 4 prequels made for it, the most of any episode. This included The Great Detective, a minisode debuting during the broadcast of Children in Need 2012, featuring the Paternoster gang trying to entice the Doctor with some strange happenings going on, but he shows no interest following his recent loss, and then a trailer for the special followed it. Secondly, Vastra Investigates, a minisode showing Vastra, Jenny, and Strax discuss their own histories and learn of the mysterious events leading into the special. Devil in the Smoke, the first of 3 Series 7 tie-in novels, showing the Paternoster gang investigate a death in which a young boy's snowman started bleeding, which is vile.
Oh!
Yes, that sounds horrible. I kind of want to read it. And then finally, The Battle of Demon's Run, a minisode showing Strax's return from the dead, released prior to the broadcast of the following episode, The Bells of St. John. It is the first televised episode to have a prose prequel written for it. So well done.
Do you reckon they went, oh yeah, they mentioned that he came back. Maybe we should film something that says how he came back and release it.
Well, they interviewed Dan Stark and he was talking about the Snowmen or something like that. And he was like, we did film something way back when explaining how I came back. I don't know if it's an extra or something like that. He didn't know at the time. And then obviously it was just this prequel ultimately.
Yeah. There you go then.
So they did film it at the time.
Yeah. Just didn't know when to release it. Somebody went, oh yeah, we'll put that out, and then forgot about it for a year and went, oh shit.
They talk about making it, and they literally said they filmed it because we know we're going to get people being like, well, how did he come back? Which I love.
Obviously.
Like, shut up.
Yeah. Oh god, terrible.
Because people just can't use their imaginations, but there you
are. No, it's terrible.
With a broadcast time of 5:15 p.m, this is the earliest a Doctor Who episode has been first broadcast, along with An Unearthly Child and The Husbands of River Song a few years later. It is the first Christmas special to also occur in the middle of a series. My God. The Doctor showing the Great Intelligence a map of the London Underground directly sets up its plan in its previous appearance, The Web of Fear, given the events of the Snowmen take place in its past. The Great Intelligence also seems to already know of the Doctor in their first appearance in the classic series. So it all comes together. To keep the return of the Great Intelligence under wraps, Ian McKellen was credited as the voice of the Snowman in promotional material before the episode's broadcast, and then he's the voice of the Great Intelligence in the credits.
Good for him.
Good for her. You get that Hobbit money. This episode features a first ever special effect for the series, a single camera shot of a character outside the TARDIS going through the doors into the console room. A similar shot had been achieved for the 1993 documentary 30 Years in the TARDIS, but this is the first time it was used in the actual show. So
I can only assume they did like a green screen around the door to the TARDIS.
There's some magic going on that I'll probably never understand. Yeah. This episode debuts a new title sequence, and for the first time in the new series, features the Doctor's face in the titles, a staple of the classic series. The logo features a snow pattern and texture, rounding off the Series 7 Part 1 kind of pattern of having themed logos and title sequences.
Good for them.
Thank God they drop it. It was originally planned for this episode to not have a title sequence and for the logo superimposed over a normal scene, but this was dropped early in pre-production when a new credit sequence was created instead. The show would end up utilising this idea 3 years later in Sleep No More, and again another 3 years later in The Woman Who Fell to Earth. So there you go. Isn't that nice?
Sure. I can't remember either of them, but I look forward to finding out.
Good. Well, there's nothing to remember because there's no credit sequences, I guess.
Yeah, exactly.
You're even paying attention to me, Connor.
Well, you said superimposed over the scenes, and I was like, what does that mean? Like trying to think, did the title come up at any other
point? They just
point?
put a PNG over what's going on.
Yeah. But I know they don't do that in The Woman Who Fell to Earth, do they? I think it just goes in, doesn't it?
No, I don't think they have anything quite like that. She just falls through the floor, and then the thing kicks in and she stands up.
Oh yeah, of course.
But Slightly More, I do remember them doing it, but we'll get there eventually. We'll get there in about a year. The fate of Clara, as seen on her grave, is 23rd of November, the same day Doctor Who began in 1963. Whoa! Stephen Moffat wanted to draw on the isolated first appearances of the first and ninth Doctors for the 11th Doctor in this episode, as well as a rejected story idea Douglas Adams proposed in the 1970s of a retired Doctor. He said, I think the Doctor's reached the point in his life where he's thinking, friendship for me is just postponed bereavement. I need to be on my own for a little while, which is very depressing. The Paternoster gang proved popular during their appearance in A Good Man Goes to War, and the idea of a spin-off was developed. But, you'll be surprised to hear this, there weren't enough resources at the BBC to get it off the ground. Moffat decided to bring them back into the main show for guest appearances instead. So that's why we got more of them. So that's nice.
Maybe one day.
And then, finally, here's the story of how Richard E. Grant was screwed over by the BBC. Richard E. Grant has previous ties to Doctor Who. He played and I quote, the quite handsome Doctor in the 1999 comic relief special, The Curse of Fatal Death, which was written by Stephen Moffat. Whoa. And as an alternate ninth Doctor in the 2003 40th anniversary adventure, Scream of the Schalke. The BBC treated this Doctor as a valid incarnation prior to the announcement of the show's revival, with a short story featuring him being published online just a day before the announcement of Christopher Eccleston portraying a new ninth Doctor. Due to the late finishing of production on the special, Scream of the Schalke and the show's revival were both infamously announced on the same Doctor Who magazine cover. He didn't even get his own cover for a month, bless him. So poor Richard. But
I don't know why. I don't know why you wouldn't just make Eccleston 10 then.
Because fuck Richard E. Grant, I guess.
Yeah, I get it, you know. Especially when they go and sneak in John Hurt anyway. Like in that gap.
And now we have all the timeless Doctors stuff. It just feels especially harsh. God. And he'd already been a non-canon Doctor in that Curse of Fatal Death. They did it to him twice. Never mind. Poor Richard. So there you go. Fun facts.
Love that.
Not that last one wasn't particularly fun for Richard.
Poor Richard, yeah. What a dick, am I right? It's because his name's Richard.
That was funny. I'll grant you that.
E.
Just say E.
They're all there. Yeah. Oh God. Out of 10, what are you giving the Snowmen?
Oh God, what did I give it? I will give it a 7.5.
Same. Also 7.5.
It's getting boring now, Connor.
A 7.5 for 7.6. Series 7, episode 6.
Technically, it is.
Yeah. Well, I thought about this. It's like, is it going to be credited as Series 7 Christmas special? But it is episode 6, according to BBC iPlayer.
On iPlayer it is. But in reality, Bells of St. John is 6.
Well, too late. I'm going with iPlayer because that's what I'm watching them on.
It's like
Sorry.
They include the specials as Series 4 on iPlayer as well.
Yeah.
Like Series 4 episode 17, end of time.
Yeah. That's where I draw the line. But when it's in the middle of this, when it's in the middle of the series, I think it's more forgivable than an end of series special. But
well.
Anyway,
they'll lose the rights to it eventually anyway.
Yeah, probably.
Disney buys the BBC.
Well, they might. You never know. It's heading that way. Next week, or at least the next time we record one of these, will be the Bells of St. John.
Yes.
This is now back in the modern day. There's bad Wi-Fi that's spooning people's heads, and a plane crash, or a plane almost crash, at least.
Yes.
The Doctor's back with his new outfit after he dresses as a monk, and they have to scale the Shard on a motorbike.
Hell yeah!
Oh
my lord!
what? Yeah, excellent. More camp goodness.
Yes.
What do you remember of this episode? What are you excited about? Is there anything that sort of sticks in your mind as being notoriously good or bad?
I remember really liking this one. I have fond memories of. I was watching this, and my sister and her now ex-boyfriend, awkward, was round. And he just popped his head in and was like, "Well, what are you watching?" I'm like, "Oh, it's just Doctor Who from last week." I was like, "Oh God, he's gonna fucking hate this." And he sat down and watched it with me, and that was really good. I was like, "Oh, that's wholesome." Don't know what happened to him after that, but there you go. Don't think I ever saw him again. But at least we spent our last time together very well. So it's weird that that's the member I think of, but there you are. But yes, we are aware I do like this particular era of the show with my favorite Doctor and Companion, all like 12 episodes of it. So, you know, that's always going to give it a bit of an advantage, unless you're Journey to the Center of the TARDIS. But yeah, I like the concept of like, you know, evil Wi-Fi and shit, because that's absolutely going to happen one day. It will kill us all. So I like that they're kind of leaning into that, and somehow this episode's 10 years old and we still haven't learned our lesson. It's just getting worse and worse and worse until Terminator does become real life. But yeah, I really like 11 getting his new jacket and all his new outfit. That's all very cool. And you know, meeting this new modern day Clara for the first time, everything going on with that. The twist with Miss Kislet is brutal, but I love it. So I'm looking forward to seeing What a Mad Day.
Oh god,
it's her.
Oh,
it's her.
The best character from Mamma Mia 2, finally.
She's finally here. I'm so excited to see you know, her performance and stuff and everything going on with that. And yeah, just what they do to kind of, I guess, really set up the second half, because we just had an episode where the Doctor and Clara have gotten to know each other, so we'll see if it works as well when they have to do it again.
I think they do, but I think they skip a lot of it and just go into okay, they're friends, and then leave it at that.
Oh, she's been kidnapped, so I saved her, so it's good now.
Yeah. I think the only bit that's the bit that always stands out in my head is, and it makes me cringe every time, is when Clara's like, Oswin, and the Doctor's like, I'm like,
oh god, they did like a
yeah, and I'm like, every time I watch it, I'm like, I don't want to.
I like the password being When You Clever Boy Remember. I think that's quite fun.
Yeah.
But yeah, the Oswin thing, they're really pushing it with that.
Yeah.
Just make it be her middle name again.
Yeah.
And then she's like, Oswin,
it would make sense then. Yeah.
But instead she's like, isn't like Clara Oswald for the win? Oswald, where did that come from? When did you pull out your ass? Yeah, I forgot about that.
And then the implication as well that she makes it her middle name for it to be on the grave.
Yeah,
like,
and the fact that he already knows it's like this Clara at this point.
Yeah,
they didn't even need it.
Yeah.
It was probably 4 a.m. and Stephen Moffat thought that was like the funniest thing.
Yeah, it's not great, but that's like my standout memory of this one is just that thinking,
yeah, I've forgotten about that. That is,
but hopefully it doesn't overshadow the episode too much.
Even if it does,
but yeah,
it's memorable.
I mean, yeah, it's true. It is true. It is memorable. But yeah, I'm excited for it. It's been a while since I've seen this one. It's been a while since I've seen a lot of Series 7B. To be fair,
I'm really excited to kind of delve into this second half.
Yeah, I tend to just watch the Doctor trilogy when watching like this era. So I'm excited to rewatch everything. Every time I think about it, I'm like, oh yeah, this is in this bit. So I'm thoroughly excited to see what comes next. But yes, hopefully the Bells of St. John will kick us off on a good run until Journey. When is Journey to the Center of the TARDIS? How many episodes is that?
We've got like another 5.
Okay, good. So we'll have a good run then.
We've got a run of 8 now, with like the 8th being named the Doctor, and I think it's number 5.
Okay, excellent. All right. Well, we've got a bit of time to prepare for Journey, and hey, we might find out we actually like it. I don't think so.
It's true.
You never know.
There's elements to like, but
there certainly
as
is,
always. But we'll see.
So much potential, but we'll see how.
Maybe it will be a Vampires of Venice for me, but
we'll see.
It probably
will. More likely to be an even worse 42.
God. Oh, 42.
God, terrible. But yes, that'll be it for this week. We'll probably be back with one of these again, hopefully next weekend, unless there's more big breaking Doctor Who news. We'll probably have to do a bit of a news roundup at some point, and by the time when that video comes out, there'll be even bigger news. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But we will see. Things ramp up as they always do. Either way, we'll have a video within the next 2 weeks. There will be at least one video. I can guarantee you that. So that's
now you've said it.
That's true. But yeah, that's it for now. Goodbye.
Bye.